Better Preach, episode 113, highlights of 2025 and looking ahead to 2026. Welcome to Better Preach, a podcast where Catholic leaders on developing and delivering great Catholic talks. I'm your host, Ryan O'Hara, a Catholic speaker who specializes in parish missions and parish retreats. And I'm so excited to join you on your journey of communicating the true, the good, and the beautiful. As 2025 comes to a close, I just wanted to give a few highlights from this past year, in my opinion, but also to start to look ahead, what's coming in 2026. I'm so grateful for each of you who decide to press play and bring me into your home, into your car, into your workout, or wherever you listen to this podcast. I am just so grateful. And today, I want to take a look back and then a look ahead. Let's get into it. Do you watch this on YouTube? This is on YouTube. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel at YouTube. I've got a little bit of a goal. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers. The reason that would even be possible, because I don't do a ton on YouTube. The only reason that's possible is because I put the Father Mike episode, Father Mike Schmitz, episode 98, check it out if you haven't heard it, onto YouTube. And it got 20,000 downloads or something. And a lot of people subscribed to the channel because of that. So that's really cool. And so that got me from 100 to 600 and some. I would love to get to 1,000. So if you have not subscribed to the Better Preach podcast channel, at Better Preach is the YouTube handle, I would love for you to do that. So that was one of the highlights from this past year. But before we get there, I want to know, so this is going to feel like a lot of seemingly disconnected business items, but I would love to share with you a few things that are coming here just in the near future. The first thing, number one, is I'm going to be at Seek 2026 in Columbus, and I'm going to be doing an impact session on Sunday, January 4th, 2026 in one of the ballrooms there. I'm really excited about it. The topic or the title is Courageous Faith, the world-changing power of taking risks with God. So I'm really talking about the risk of faith and using St. John Henry Newman's famous sermon titled Ventures of Faith as a bit of a template. So the question that we're going to ultimately get to is, what would you do in life, in big ways and in everyday ways? What would you do in life if you were fearless and full of faith? That's sort of the big, pesky question that this topic is pointing at, and that faith and risk are synonymous. Okay, that's a little preview. If you're going to be at Seek 2026, would if I know you or don't know you, if we haven't met or we have met, I would love for you to join me. That would be awesome. So that's number one. I'm really looking forward to that, and would really appreciate your prayers for that session. Number one. That's the first thing I just wanted to mention. Now, so that's looking forward. I'm going to look back, and then we're going to look ahead again. So from this past year, 2025, there were 4 things that really kind of stuck out, 4 interviews in particular that were deeply impactful and significant to me. The first was way back at Seek 2025. I had a chance to do a live interview with Father John Burns. And this was one of my favorite interviews of all of them that I have done over the last few years. In part, one, it was kind of a cool way to do it, to do a live interview, to be there at Seek in the midst of all of that. That was super fun. Big shout out to Kyle Hyman, who engineered that, produced that, made that happen. Father John Burns is an incredible gift to the church, a great and holy priest, and it was a challenge to keep up with him. And he was so smart, and he spoke so clearly and easily and quickly. I was having a hard time keeping up. One, it was just intellectually, the guy is a giant. And two, I was having a hard time hearing him. So we didn't quite have the microphones and the monitors all squared away. And I'm doing my best to sort of hang on for dear life. But when people ask me what episode should they listen to, this is the one with Father John Burns is one of them that immediately comes to mind. It's just a really significant conversation on priestly preaching, preaching in general, the role of our Blessed Mother, and the particular gift of women religious in the church. And so that was a great way to sort of start off season 4. The next one was, and this may not be any surprise, but was my conversation with Father Mike Schmitz. And I don't know if I think I probably mentioned this in that episode. That was episode 98. He and I go way back. I always say that I knew Father Mike before he was Father Mike. And that interview didn't disappoint. And I felt like I, even as well as I've gotten to know him over the years, got to see just his very honest and vulnerable self. We spent most of the time talking about things that he's not doing well, or things that have sort of struggles or, screw ups or, whatever. And it was a great interview. And that was a highlight in part too, because because it was on YouTube, and YouTube, has an algorithm that connects people to things more so than, say, Apple Podcasts or even Spotify. A lot of people were able to connect with the show because of that, and so I'm really, really grateful for that. And I saw that happening. I mean, anything that Father Mike is connected to, gains thousands and thousands of views. And this interview was no different. So that was a great second highlight from 2025 that I just want to point out. The third was my interview on racism with Gloria Purvis. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, please look for that episode. She is an incredible gift to the church and has a really important message for the church and for us as Catholics, but also as Catholic Americans and so on. I just found that conversation enlightening, challenging, powerful, and was so grateful that she would sit down with me. The reason I think it was able to happen was that I was at a conference with her in June. I'd been praying and hoping that I'd be able to connect with her. And it just so happened that I was at a conference with Catholic campus ministers in June, and she gave just a rousing, powerful, prophetic talk on racism in America, and particularly how it overlaps with our experience of Catholicism and so on. I just made a beeline to her as soon as the talk was over, and we got to connect, because so much of what she is speaking about and working on are things that are near and dear to my heart and to our family, being a multiracial family, but also working with the urban poor here in St. Paul, Minnesota, on the east side. Just her work, her perspective, her wisdom meant so much. So that was probably highlight number 3. The last highlight that I would make sure to point out was the lovely opportunity I had to finally sit down with my pastor, Father Luke Marquardt. And we had so many unfortunate technical difficulties in getting that to happen. I think we had to schedule it 3 times. The second time, I couldn't quite get one of the cables right, and I didn't realize it was so simple. Anyway, we had to schedule and reschedule, and then the tech went nuts. But beyond all that, it was such an honor and a joy to sit down with him. I think he is an exquisite preacher, and he is an incredible gift to me and my family in his leadership, his pastoral leadership at St. Joe's in West St. Paul. And being able to do that live with him on his turf and just discuss all things preaching was really an incredible gift. So I just wanted to name those highlights for me. I wonder, which of those episodes resonated with you, or maybe there were others. I'm certain there would be other episodes that resonated with you. I would love to hear. ryanohara.org/betterpreach. Send me an email. I'd love to hear what episode from 2025 really resonated. But I wanted to look ahead and to mention a few things. I'm kind of putting things together for 2026, and I'm going to be taking a break for a couple of months. I think that's what I've done the last few years, is that January and February or so of each new year, I've taken time away. That'll be particularly helpful this year because January and February of 2026 are really full for me as far as traveling goes, parish missions, parish retreats, other speaking opportunities during that season. So that'll be just practically, that's going to help. Every time I take a break, my sort of vision for the podcast is renewed and energy is vivified. I'm going to be taking a little break, but I just want to name this. I have some dream guests, and I'm going to say, Lord, I would love, here are 6 people. Wouldn't it be amazing? Lord, I would love, now I'm talking to Jesus. You're listening to my prayer here. Lord, I would love to interview, on the Catholic side, 3 names come to mind. I would love to interview Sister Miriam, Bishop Barron, and Msgr Shea. Each of those, I would love to interview each of them in 2026. And on the Protestant side, my sort of the big 3 that I would love to interview, and may 2026 be the year: Andy Stanley, Francis Chan, and Louis Giglio. I don't know how any or all of that will happen, but you're hearing it here first. If you have any way to help me get in close contact with any of those folks, I can send emails, but it's usually not been an email that makes the breakthrough. It's usually been a recommendation from someone close to the person that says, hey, I know this guy, this podcast, it'd be a great fit, and Ryan does a good job, or they would vouch for me or whatever. Okay, so you've heard it here. If you have any connections or you just want to pray, those are 6 folks that I strongly desire to interview, and mostly to bring their wisdom to you and to hear what they have to say around the question of preaching. I haven't had any non-Catholics, and I certainly don't have to start with those 3 names, but boy, if I was going to sit down with anyone on preaching outside of the church, those would be the 3, my sort of dream 3: Andy Stanley, Francis Chan, and Louis Giglio. And you know why I would want to sit down with Sister Miriam, Bishop Barron, and Msgr Shea. All right, so that's dream guests. And also, if you have other ideas of anybody else that you think, Ryan, you have got to interview so-and-so, particularly if you see that they're going to be at Seek in Columbus, there's still time. We could maybe hook something up. Look up the speakers on the Seek website for Columbus. Feel free to send me an email. Say, hey, there's a name that comes to Dr. Scott Powell. Maybe he would be a good one to interview. I thought he would be. All right, you can check that out. So that's looking ahead, number 1, dream guests. Looking ahead, number 2, is daily reflections. So one of the things that I have wanted to do forever is get into a rhythm of creating reflections on the daily readings. Late this year and then just now this week, I put together a daily reading reflection for the Ascension app. So, you're familiar with Ascension, and in their app, they have a free app, there are daily reflections, kind of 3 minutes or shorter. They're videos, they're like iPhone-style videos, and I was asked to do one of those for early next year. Really honored by that. Thank you, Ascension, for that invitation. But just doing it and doing it ahead of time, like, a couple of months early, got me thinking, I'd love to do that more often. And if I did, I thought I would just want to put that in the feed. I just would want to share that. You certainly wouldn't have to listen. You could pass it by or whatever, but it'd be, less than 5 minutes and it'd be there. I'm thinking about doing it during the week. And so maybe there's an opportunity there. Okay. So what have we been saying here? 4 things. We're going to be at Seek, January 4th, 2 p.m., ballroom on Courageous Faith. Would love to see you there. Number 2, I reviewed just 4 of my favorite podcast moments from this past year. Father John Burns, Father Mike Schmitz, my interview with Gloria Purvis, and my pastor, Father Luke Marquardt. I wonder which episode resonated most with you. Do you have any ideas next, now looking ahead, on dream guests? Who should I interview? And do you have any connection to any of these folks? Sister Miriam, Bishop Barron, Msgr Shea, or Andy Stanley, Francis Chan, and Louis Giglio. Okay? And then, daily reflections. That's the last piece. I would love to hear your thoughts on daily reading reflections being in the feed. Okie dokie. You guys are the best. Pray for me over this break. I will pray for you. I would love to hear from each and every one of you out there what your thoughts are on any of these things I have mentioned. ryanohara.org/betterpreach. There's a contact form there. I'm going to include that in the show notes, that link, as well as the questions that I would love for you to consider. So grateful for you. You have millions of choices when you podcast. I should say, you have millions of choices when you listen to podcasts. Thanks for play. Thanks for pressing play today. See you next time.